Welcome to Community Cocktails with Kimberly, hosted by Kimberly Woodard, a realtor for nearly 20 years with Ebby Halliday Realtors. Join her every first and third Wednesday of the month as she meets with the top community influencers to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now, your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Community Cocktails with Kimberly. I'm so excited about my guest today because we right now are in just a crazy real estate marketplace. And today I have Kheang Eung with Prosperity Mortgage and here to talk about getting your loan and all these tips that are going to be helpful for you in this marketplace. Welcome, Kheang.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly.
I'm so excited to have you. Kheang and I go back, we'll age ourselves quite some time.
Yes.
So I think we were kind of both like in the trenches starting out.
This was before kids and stuff. Yeah. So
it's
been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm so excited. So let's talk about, we are in an unbelievable marketplace. And I'm sure you're getting calls from buyers wanting to get pre-approved. But let's talk about why it's so important, not just to get pre-approved, but to make them more marketable in this marketplace.
Right. Well, Kimberly, right now, the market, like you said, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So if we have clients that are coming and they're serious clients, they want to make an offer on a house, a seller is not going to entertain your offer without a written pre-approval.
Right.
And that's even a step beyond just a pre-qualification, which just means, hey, I make this much and I have this much in the bank. So a pre-approval is always a better step. But Prosperity, we go a step beyond to what's called our buyer advantage. And a buyer advantage just means we actually will process, underwrite, look at everything, get you approved so that once you're out there, you just go ahead and just need an appraisal and title work and you're done.
That's fantastic because that also will help them that maybe they could possibly, they were already checked the box on their third party financing of credit approval for themselves. That buyer is more marketable to the seller saying, hey, I've got this already done.
We're currently doing those on all conforming conventional loans, not doing it on government loans just yet or jumbos, but if you have a client that's looking loan amount under $548,000 doing a conventional loan, we're happy to go ahead and put them on that program.
Fantastic. And then again, stressing about this marketplace. I just got email from an agent on a property that it's just I had shown it. So I get the property updates and they had 80 showings and 47 offers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And it's so important too that your lender can call the listing agent or talk to the listing agent and really be informed and knowledgeable about your client, right? Like I can call and tell them, hey, I've reviewed income, I've reviewed credit, they're solid buyers. You can reach me anytime. You can pick up the phone and call me. To a listing agent, that's huge too.
It is, and I will give y'all's company kudos. Is I love the follow-ups. I love the emails, and just to kind of be able to give that information also as a listing agent to my seller. I can say, hey, here's where the buyer's loan is, and they are seeing that from the lender, directly, basically, and that gives them that ease and comfort, especially in. Everyone gets nervous. Doesn't matter if it's, nothing's pretty done until you see that money.
Yes.
I always say, nothing's done until the money's in the bank. But no, and it is, we've got this marketplace that, people are obviously bidding well over market price on these homes. And, we've come into, which is, remember when the appraisal waiver came into effect, was back in, it was after the peak of, the 2015 to 2018. And all of a sudden we get this appraisal waiver. We're all laughing at it.
Right.
Like, oh, we don't need to use that. We're not going to use this. This is passe. And now it is really almost a required, not required, but, in this competition, people are putting in it. It's kind of a gold thing for the sellers.
Right. So appraisal waiver, for those of you that don't know, you use it on conventional loans. You can't use it on government loans like FHA or VA, but on conventional loans, Some listings will, basically recommend that you make an offer with the appraisal waiver, right?
Right.
And there's 3 check boxes that you can pick on the appraisal waiver. The first checkbox means I don't care where the value of the house comes in at. I want the house. So to a lender and to a seller,
Right.
that just means, hey, I want the house really bad, and if it comes in 100,000 short, I'm gonna make up the difference somehow, one way or another, and I still want to buy the house,
Right.
right? That's the first checkbox. The second checkbox, if you check it, you usually have a limit there. Like I'll buy it as long as it makes this certain value. If not, we'll renegotiate and we'll talk about it. Um, totally fine. I think the first one's just going to be that much stronger.
Right.
So that puts you at a weaker position, I feel like. But as a buyer, you want to protect yourself. You can totally do that. And the third checkbox, I feel like, really protects the buyer, because if it's somebody that is coming in with, let's say 50% down, and the house doesn't make value, buyer or the lender can technically go ahead and still approve you for the loan, right? You can still get a loan because, we're qualified even though it doesn't make value. But if you check that third box, you're basically saying if it doesn't hit this value, that even though I can qualify, I may not want to buy the house.
Right.
So that's just kind of a reverse. Like if somebody's putting a lot of money down, that helps them to not get stuck, I guess, on that.
On that with it, because they are putting 50% down.
Right.
There is some numbers that can
Right.
be.
Right. And everybody's always like, why does it matter? If buyer and seller has agreed to a certain purchase price, why does it matter? Why do we have to change, like the value of the house?
Right.
And it matters because the house is only worth so much to the lender.
Right.
Right. So, if something's worth $100 and you're going to pay $200 for it, the bank is not going to loan you $200 for it.
Right.
You got to make up that difference one way or another.
Yes. And I think that's the scary part for a lot of buyers in this marketplace is they're bidding over. I mean, we're seeing people bidding, 30, 50, 100. But,
Right. Just keep going.
Just keep
Yeah.
going. And I tell my buyers in this marketplace is almost like an auction. And this appraisal addendum is kind of a way to say, hey, I'm really serious about my number. Because otherwise, if it, and we all know it may not appraise for what we're making that offer. Appraisers are just not able to keep up with what is the ongoing marketplace. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we think as a real estate agents, we're having it tough. I think they're having it tough as well.
Right.
But,
Appraisers are looking backwards,
Yeah.
right? So they're looking at things that have closed, not at stuff that is coming up and
Right.
hasn't closed yet. And everybody just keeps pushing it up higher, and eventually it'll catch up, but it's always backwards looking
Right.
on that. So
especially the stuff, I would say now we're probably getting a little bit closer to the gaps than it was things that were trying to close back in March when it was just I mean, it's starting in January, but as that peak, because they didn't have as many sales
right.
back
So
then.
what do you do then, if you have that appraisal gap?
Yes. So
right?
that's the question everyone is asking.
Right. So the sellers, they're going to look at all the offers,
Right.
And the one that has the highest price usually wins out.
Right.
But it also depends on that appraisal waiver, right?
Yeah. The appraisal waiver, I will say I've had sellers use that as part of their elimination of offers.
Right. So if you've got the appraisal waiver in, and let's say your home value, the appraisal does come in low, you do have options. Okay.
Okay.
If somebody were to go in with 20% down and they sign the appraisal waiver and the house comes in 10% short, you can still buy the house without putting anything extra down. You've just got private mortgage insurance,
Right.
PMI. And it's usually not a whole lot. Just depends on where you fall it on the value. And you come to closing with the same amount of money that you were going to do it originally. You just have the PMI until you reach the 80% that you're shooting for.
Right.
So there's options of doing it instead of just, and a lot of people don't understand, like they go in And if they were going to put 20% down and now they're going to sign the appraisal waiver because they've gone 10% over,
Right.
they changed their offer to 10% down, thinking I'm going to have another 10% to put down in case it's short.
Yeah.
But you want to present yourself as the strongest offer.
Right.
So go in with the 20% down. And if it comes in low, we'll restructure the loan to where it works.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And that makes sense. And I know people are always afraid of the PMI. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to pay PMI. I don't want to pay PMI. But in this marketplace, and how things have been, you know, adjusting and our values have been going up, you may not you may get that 10% pretty quick.
Right. Right. I mean,
So,
I've been really crazy busy last year
yeah.
with refinances. It's still very busy with refis, and some of those clients are FHA buyers from
Right.
2 or 3 years ago that only put 3.5% down,
Right.
and now they have the 20% equity because home values have gone up,
Right.
and then we'll either refinance them over to a conventional loan, or the other option is if you currently have PMI, just reach out to your lender and say, hey, can I get rid of the PMI? Because I'm pretty sure my home values have gone up.
Right.
Reach out to your agent,
Yep.
and then, Kimberly can get you an estimate of how much your house is worth now. And then based on that, compared to what you owe, you might be able to do it.
There's a way to save some money for those that are currently in their home. And,
Right.
two, again, if you do have that appraisal gap, and don't be so afraid of it in this
Right.
marketplace. I understand, in other marketplaces it is, scary, but this one is wheels off.
Right. Right. For sure.
It's just a wheels off. So, as right now in the marketplace, because I'm seeing so many appraisal waivers as when I'm on the listing side, I don't ever see the appraisals. And so, how are they? Are you seeing a lot of gaps?
Surprisingly, they're not as big of a gap as you would think.
Yeah.
The appraisals are coming in above the list price,
Okay.
but not necessarily.
The price that they
Somebody's
bid.
going to
Yeah.
go over 100,000.
Right.
It's tough to justify
Right.
going up, but appraisers will look at, hey, this house had multiple offers. It's a very hot house. Quite a few of them were at this price point or around there, and they will take all of those things into consideration because we are not in a stable market. We're in an
No.
increasing market for sure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's like I said, it's wheels off, but I think that's an added comfort to buyers out there right now that are maybe they are in the marketplace, maybe they're on the fence if they want to get into this marketplace. It was quoted as Texas, we're in the wild wild west.
Yes.
And
Everybody's coming here.
yeah, everyone's coming here, and it's just wheels off on making offers. Um, but it's the importance of these couple of things can really make your offer a stronger one.
Right.
Obviously, at the end of the day, the seller's going to go with the highest price. Though I will say, on the flip side, is the listing agent. We talked about the appraisal waiver. I had one where we had we had a lot of offers, but our top 5 offers, the appraisal waiver, it was why it was not the highest price. When I went back to the agent, I told him you were not the highest.
Mhm.
So just so your buyer knows that. But the difference is they had the appraisal waiver, whereas the other 4 that were all staggered, higher than him didn't. And so the seller decided this one has an appraisal waiver, and I feel better. Whereas I don't know that I don't feel comfortable that it may not appraise at this, and I'm having to renegotiate to
Right.
a lower price with someone else.
Right.
So
Right.
take that gamble. So it is definitely it's a strong document.
Yep.
So it's definitely something for if you're out there buying to really consider.
My
So,
advice is to make sure you totally understand it
mhm.
because it's not for everybody.
Right.
For sure. And if you go into it and you sign that appraisal waiver, you're on the hook for that shortage.
Yeah.
Because it's easy when you're caught up in the moment to say, "Oh yeah, I'll
Yeah.
pay 100,000 over,"
Oh yes.
and then when you look at that appraisal, it's like, I have to come up with 100,000 more. What do you mean?
Yeah, you're like, wait, back up.
So yeah.
Oh, it is. Like I said, it is so. Um, you know, it's just a different marketplace. It is. On there. So let's talk about rates right now too. And we're talking about kind of the negatives of the marketplace and the stress, but it still is a good time to buy.
It's a great time to buy. Yeah. Interest rates are still low. The concern is always going to be inflation,
Right.
right? And right now, with prices being pushed up higher,
Yeah.
there's the concern that, hey, is this going to be a transitory inflation, or is it going to stick around for a while? And if it sticks around, then you'll see interest rates start to move up. We're still in the low threes, high twos. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah.
Historically speaking. So when you're looking at 5%, maybe four years ago, this is great time to buy.
It's a fantastic, and I think we've been spoiled with lower interest rates over the years. I remember when I got into real estate back a long time ago.
Don't tell.
So, I was writing contracts at 9-10%.
Right.
And I've told people that, and they're like, "Really? Oh my goodness, people were buying." I'm like, "Yeah, you
Yeah.
you gotta have somewhere to live.
Yeah.
Your just affordability was maybe different
Right.
at that time." And then I remember when they started going down to like 8s, 7s, and we were like, "Wow, this is just incredible."
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, I mean, it's like free money.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why our housing market is just because people are wanting to take advantage of that.
Exactly.
So, so let's also talk about the tips. We have some people that are, probably renting out there, and maybe they're not ready to get into the wild, wild west of buying,
Mm-hmm.
but and it's probably maybe it's also they are trying to save up, maybe fix some things. What are some tips for those buyers out there?
If you're not quite at the stage where you're ready to buy
Uh-huh.
yet, I think it's always good to still kind of talk to a loan
Uh-huh.
officer, mortgage consultant, and just get an idea of, where you're going to be when you are ready to purchase. So you have in your head, hey, I'm comfortable with a $2,500 monthly payment.
Right.
And maybe rent's not that much right now, but if you start putting aside the difference between what your rent is and what you're comfortable with, you'll have a better idea of, can I handle this once I'm a homeowner,
Right.
right? And then that's another way to start building up your savings as well. Um, we have a ton of first-time homebuyer programs
Uh-huh.
too, down payment assistance programs as well. So if that's the case, then just know that you're positioning yourself to when you're ready to buy the house. You know of the different programs out there.
Right.
You know where your credit stands. You know what you're comfortable with. You're going to be in a much better position. And the other reason I say talk to a loan officer first is if there are things that you have to work on or fix before you get to that point, you have time right now while you're still renting.
Right.
So go ahead and maybe check one of the credit bureaus and take care of those pesky collections,
Yes.
or get caught up on that past due, or pay that balance down, so that when you do find something, you're going to get the best rate possible out there.
That's great. It's getting your plan. Go
Hmm.
ahead and get your plan. Everyone makes plans for everything else, so this is a great time to do that and get your ducks in order, and
Absolutely.
then you'll be a more marketable buyer
Yep.
out in this marketplace or whatever marketplace. I mean, obviously, I don't have a crystal ball to say that.
Unbelievable.
But in the last year of sitting here, we would have never thought the
No.
market would be what it is now. But it is, and so we just got to tackle it, and and I always tell clients, put your best foot forward when you're making these offers. And when you make an offer, if you don't get it, you know that you put your best foot forward.
Exactly.
And so that's, and I know it does get beat down. You get, turned down. It's kind of like a job interview these days. You're interviewing to buy a
Hmm.
house. And sometimes it comes, you lose a few jobs opportunities, but then the one that's meant to be, it happens.
I have a buyer right now that I'm working with that he's a veteran.
Uh-huh.
VA loans, it's especially hard, I feel like, right now because 100% financing, you can't use the appraisal waiver.
Right.
So my buyer's made 15 offers. He's written 15 contracts and has been turned down. And he was at the point where he's like, hey, I'm just gonna go rent if this house doesn't work out. And they made an offer. They went in as backup because they took the other offer.
Yeah.
And then the backup fell through.
Yep.
And now we're under contract. So have hope because
Yes.
you know, things do happen. And when the right time comes for the right house, you'll get it.
Yeah. And right now, those people that are making those 100,000, you just never know what could be going in their back of their mind
Exactly.
during the process. And we're seeing a lot more houses coming back on the market than ever before. So it's in a slower market, usually that's kind of a negative. We're like, oh, what's wrong with the house?
Mm-hmm.
But in this market, it's a lot of times it's buyer's remorse.
Right.
So.
Right.
So it's 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
So, well, I think I have learned so much. I hope that the audience has too. We've got Kheang's contact information. So if you're interested in buying, refinancing, give him a call, give him a try. He's fantastic. Like I said, Kheang and I go back way back. And so he's very knowledgeable and will get you all set up. Well, thank you so much and cheers.
Cheers.
Yay.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to contact Kimberly with your real estate needs, you can reach her at kimberlywoodard.ebby.com. We hope you enjoyed our guest this week, and remember, don't just love your home, love your community.